Your podcast should be your most powerful business development tool, a trust and authority builder, and your content creation engine. Let's help your podcast help your business with the Story Trust Media Podcast. Here's your host, John Gehring.
Your podcast is a sales tool, whether you like it or not. If you're using your podcast for business development, you're not alone. A lot of us want our podcast to help us grow our business, and it makes sense, right? But just starting a podcast isn't going to do that. You have to be very intentional about how you frame your podcast. The reality is your podcast is either moving people closer to working with you or it's not. And every episode has a role to play in doing that. I'm John Gehring. This is the Story Trust Media Podcast, and I want to tell you about a study that was done 2 years ago by the Content Marketing Institute. And what it found is it surveyed a whole bunch of B2B buyers specifically, and that's the audience that I talk to a lot of times is those coaches, those consultants, those people who are working with businesses, and sometimes nonprofits as well. I enjoy working with. But when it comes to B2B buyers, what they found is that 74% of them, about 3/4 of them, consumed at least 5 pieces of content from any vendor before they made even contact with that vendor and ended up either working with them or finding out if a working relationship with them was right or not. 5 pieces of content: a newsletter, a blog, a podcast, a video, etc. 5 different pieces of content. That's a lot. You'd think that somebody would just look up online and think, oh, this looks like potentially a good vendor, read a review or two and book a call. But that's actually oftentimes not the case, especially in higher trust B2B purchases. And there's quite possibly nothing more higher trust than a coaching relationship or a consulting relationship in business. You really have to trust the person that you're hiring. So with that, higher trust transaction requires a higher degree of knowledge and intimacy with that person or that brand. And one of the ways to do that is through content marketing. So that's huge, right? To know that your podcast episodes are potentially being checked out by your prospects, by your potential clients. So what do? How do you make them more likely to want to at least reach out to you and talk to you versus not? Now, a lot of people think that it's, a lead generation tool. Like, hey, if somebody checks out my podcast, then they're going to book a call with me. Then it's up to me to close them. A lot of times the close happens while they're checking out their content. A lot of times the close is partially a result of the content that you've done. It's not just a lead generation tool. It's a tool that's either pushed someone closer to working with you or not. It's a tool that allows them to build trust and have this preconceived notion coming in that you're the right person to work with or not. You see, I hear this all the time, and I think it's really fascinating. We don't typically make rational decisions as humans. We make decisions based on our preconceived notions. So I first decide something, and then I look for evidence to prove it, right? And so when it comes to content, I'm looking to decide whether or not somebody is worth working with or not very quickly within, say, 5 pieces of content. And then I'm going to look to prove that when I get on the call with them. So when I get on the call with them, given the knowledge that I have and that relationship that I already feel like I have with them, I consider them an authority in their niche, this coach or whatever. My mind has already tried to make up its mind saying that I'm going to work with them, but now I'm just looking for evidence to confirm that. So when we think about it that way, it actually proves that your content is even more important than we realize. It's not just pushing people down the funnel, it's helping them make a decision or at least a tentative decision, and then look for reasons to confirm that decision when they hop on the call with you. Okay, so again, how do we actually do this? It's all about documenting expertise versus the idea of demonstrating it. Okay. There's a difference between a podcast that just tells your audience that you're an expert and one that shows them. Okay. Documenting is, hey, I've done this for a long time. I've got all this experience. I've worked with 200 clients. We've helped double their businesses. Now let's get into today's podcast. And then you talk about something kind of more broad and might actually not have much to do with anything. And then you call it a day, but you say, hey, I documented my expertise. I built trust with them, right? I showed them that I am an authority in this niche. Demonstrating your expertise is much different than documenting it. I want you to think of demonstrating it as actually walking your audience through something that you're doing, giving them value. So for me, for example, as a podcast, production person, content creator for your brand, I might, instead of talking about all of the podcasters that I've worked with and how successful that they've been, that's just documenting experience. I demonstrate it by saying, this is how I would normally do this. These are 5 strategies that I would use for helping to promote your podcast. And by the way, that is actually an episode we did a few weeks ago. This is the way to start up a podcast. Let me walk you through. Let me give you all the secrets, so to speak. I'm not going to hide anything from you. I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm not going to say, hey, I've done this. You're just going to have to believe me and then hire me to do it for you. I'm going to demonstrate it and say, hey, this is how I do it. You can do it on your own if you want, or you can hire me. There's a certain insecurity in documenting your expertise versus demonstrating it, in saying, hey, I do this, this, and this, and this, and I'm so successful, but I'm not going to tell you the secrets. That's what working for me is, or working with me is for. And I disagree with that approach to content. Like, you somehow have to leave some arrows in the quiver. That's insecurity to me, especially in this day and age where you can go on YouTube, you can go on AI and get anything you want, right? Ask AI, hey, help me start a podcast. This information is not secret anymore. That's not what somebody's coming to your podcast to do, is to hear, oh, look, I'm a great expert. You should hire me and work with me because, hey, let me document all my expertise so that you can trust me and consider me an authority. Demonstrating it is how that happens. So that's the number one rule in your podcast, is to provide value with your podcast, almost like you're teaching someone to do it themselves. Whether or not they actually go on and do it themselves. If they do, great, more power to them. They weren't going to work with you anyway. And they may refer you to somebody, though, because now they know that you've, you have the ability to do that and you've demonstrated that. But if they weren't going to do it and they're not looking to do it themselves, they now trust you and realize more that you're somebody who provides value, not just somebody who brags about their accomplishments. So I just want you to think about that, documenting versus demonstrating, because oftentimes newer podcasters like fall into that documenting piece because we're a little insecure. Like, we want to show, hey, I've gotten these results for this client, so you should trust me. But trust isn't forced like that. Trust is developed over time through value. Now, on top of this, the CTA is still important, right? There's still going to be some sort of, I guess you could say, documentation of, hey, this is what I do, and this is why you should trust me, based on all the information that I've just demonstrated here and the stories that I've told and all that, right? So a CTA that actually converts and gets someone closer to buying from you, working with you, so that they do get on that call and their mind is looking for ways to confirm that they're going to work with you, not the opposite, is to leave a CTA that encourages them to find more. That it's basically like an open book saying, hey, I got so much more of this. You can go check it out. That's the kind of open-ended CTA that you want, not the CTA that says, that's super salesy and says, hey, I got this package for $2,500. I think you want it. You go over and click buy now. And no, that's not the CTA that you want, that actually builds trust and helps somebody get closer to working with you. Podcasting is not the time to talk pricing. Podcasting is the time to open yourself up and invite people into a deeper, longer conversation with you. And that's what actually converts. 96%, according to Demand Gen report, of B2B buyers, these are the same people that as we said earlier, consume at least 5 pieces of content before getting on a call with somebody. They want more input from industry thought leaders. 47% of those said that they found most CTAs to be too aggressive or too transactional. So that's what we're looking to avoid. Your podcast episode is either getting you closer to working with somebody or it's pushing them away. And remember, those 5 pieces of content, they can all be repurposed from your podcast. They can all show your knowledge and your authority without telling them how much knowledge and authority that you have, documenting versus demonstrating. And ultimately, that CTA needs to be soft. It needs to be open-ended enough to welcome them into a deeper conversation, not to sell them on a product or service. And then once they get on that call with you, they're going to be much more likely to want to work with you because they already have that more trusted relationship with you and they see you as an authority in the niche. So if you're interested in learning more, I would love to talk with you. Hey, here's my CTA. I'm not going to give you what my packages are and how you should work with me. No, I'm going to invite you into more of a conversation. And the way I do that is you can actually, at StoryTrust.media, talk with me for 30 minutes. And this isn't a sales pitch. This is simply you talking with me about your show, and I do a little audit of your show and give you some suggestions to improve. And yeah, maybe we're fit to work with each other down the road. Maybe not. That's okay. Again, you can find that link for the 30-minute consultation, StoryTrust.media. I'll catch you next time here on the StoryTrust Media podcast.
Thanks for checking out the StoryTrust Media podcast. Learn more about what StoryTrust Media can do for your business and book a free consultation at StoryTrust.media.